Welcome to today's conversation. We're diving into the story of Robert Prevost, now Pope Leo XIV, the very first American Pope. He's a fascinating figure with a truly global background.
Absolutely, it's quite remarkable. An American by birth, steeped in Latin American traditions and a deep commitment to social issues. Yep.
Right, so Prevost was born in Chicago in 1955 to Spanish and Franco-Italian parents, which already hints at a rich cultural tapestry.
Mm.
He was raised in a very active Catholic family and served as an altar boy before being ordained in 1982.
And then, interestingly, he moved to Peru only 3 years later. That's where he spent many years as a missionary and a community pastor, right?
Exactly. He dedicated a large part of his life to working with marginalized communities in Peru. He wasn't just, a religious figure, but also a bridge builder.
Right? That's quite impressive. You rarely see someone who makes such strong connections both in the US and Latin America.
Yeah, and what's really cool is that even though Prevost was born in the United States, he also holds Peruvian nationality thanks to those long missionary years. It's like he embodies the essence of cross-cultural spirituality.
I agree. It's one of those rare cases where personal history and duty intertwine so naturally, creating a leader with a truly international perspective.
Now, before his papal election, he had an impressive career, from serving as a local parish pastor and seminary teacher in Trujillo, to even rising to the role of prefect of the dicastery for bishops in Latin America, where he was responsible for selecting and supervising bishops.
Right? And that role made him well known within the higher ups. It's like he was groomed for leadership long before this election.
Exactly. And then in 2023, he became an archbishop. Just a few months later, Pope Francis elevated him to cardinal, which, as we know, is a key stepping stone
Yeah.
for any future pope.
Speaking of Pope Francis, Prevost has obviously been a close ally. In his first words as Pope Leo XIV, he even paid tribute to Francis' legacy by mentioning the weak but always courageous voice of his predecessor.
Yes, and that really speaks to the continuity of progressive, social justice-focused approaches within the Church. It's like a passing of the baton alongside a commitment to reform.
However, there's also some complexity there. Rumor has it that some conservatives are a bit skeptical about whether the new pope will mirror Francis's more progressive stances, especially on topics like LGBT issues.
I get that point, but look at his record. While his views on LGBT issues may be slightly more reserved, he has also shown support for issuing blessings in what he calls irregular situations. Yet, critics argue he might, lean less in that direction than Francis did.
That's an interesting dilemma. It's almost like he's trying to strike a balance, staying true to progressive values while also not rocking the boat too much for the conservative factions.
Exactly. And let's not forget his commitment to environmental issues. He's been outspoken about the need to move from words to action, even pushing for solar panels and electric vehicles at the Vatican.
Yeah, it's pretty refreshing to see someone in his position advocating for tangible change regarding the environment. It really resonates with many younger Catholics and forward-thinking members of the Church.
Absolutely. And his choice of the name Leo is loaded with significance. It immediately evokes the legacy of Pope Leo III, whose papacy was all about social justice during the Industrial Revolution.
Right? So, in a way, by choosing Leo, he's sending a message about his priorities, emphasizing workers' rights, support for marginalized communities, and dynamic social policies, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's like he's saying, we need to continue the fight for social justice, much like Pope Leo XIII did. And even though he's drawing from a historical legacy, he's also trying to craft something new for modern times.
One fascinating aspect is his international identity. Although he's the first American pope, the Vatican also points out that he's almost as much a Latin American figure, given his years in Peru. This blend gives him a truly unique perspective.
Right? And that dual identity is particularly significant in today's globalized world. It breaks from the traditional mold and shows that leadership can emerge from a confluence of diverse cultures.
Yeah, I must say, though, there's also a degree of caution. Remember, during his time in Peru, there were some controversies, especially with the sexual abuse scandals that have troubled the church, even though he personally wasn't implicated.
True, and that's a challenging legacy to navigate. On one hand, he's renowned for his grassroots work among the poor, but on the other, he's had to operate in an environment tarnished by those scandals. It's a balancing act he now inherits as the Pope.
Right. It does raise the question of accountability and reform, whether his leadership will help the church heal or if those past issues will continue to haunt the institution.
And his active engagement in initiatives like supporting women joining the dicastery for bishops, which he believes contributes to enriching the church's decision-making, shows that he's open to fostering inclusivity at higher levels.
That seems like a bold step forward, especially in a historically patriarchal setup. It's a sign that he may be steering the church towards more modern governance practices.
Yeah, and let's not overlook that his pastoral work among migrants and the poor in Peru, along with his commitments to environmental sustainability, really encapsulate the social justice framework he seems determined to follow.
I find it really compelling, the idea that one's personal journey from a local pastor in Chicago and Peru to the global stage of the papacy can have such a transformative impact on a major religious institution.
Absolutely. It's like he carries the mosaic of his diverse past into every decision he'll make as Pope, continually reminding us that leadership isn't just about tradition, it's about adapting and addressing modern concerns.
Right, and his connections to both American and Latin American cultures might also help bridge socio-political divides within the church and beyond.
Yeah, and his emphasis on unity, he spoke about moving forward hand in hand with God, opens up an interesting dynamic where tradition and reform are not mutually exclusive, but are rather two sides of the same
Exactly.
coin.
It's almost like he's challenging the status quo in a gentle way, inviting dialogue between progressive ideas and long-standing church doctrines rather than overturning everything abruptly.
Right? And that's important because change in deeply rooted institutions often has to be gradual and considerate of history. He seems to be very aware of that delicate balance.
Yeah, still, I wonder if this middle way might not satisfy the more radical elements who want a full break with the past, as well as the conservatives who fear too much progression.
That's a valid point. It's like he's walking a tightrope here, balancing reform and tradition simultaneously. But, it might just be what the church needs at a time of global change.
And maybe, his background as someone who grew up with immigrant values in the US and his extensive work in Peru gives him unique insights into the struggles of the marginalized, which could resonate deeply across continents.
I think so too. His story is not just about an individual, but about bridging cultures, inspiring hope, and challenging us all to rethink how leadership can be both rooted in tradition and forward-looking.
Absolutely. Indeed. Whatever comes next, Pope Leo XIV's tenure promises to shape a future of the Church that's more socially aware, environmentally conscious, and globally inclusive.
Well put. It's going to be a compelling era for the Church, and I'm excited to see how this evolution unfolds under his guidance.
Me too. Thanks for this engaging discussion. Here's to witnessing history as it's written.